Ready? Okay. Good morning. This is Georgia Maneta from Greece, and I would like to introduce to you our first presenter, Tom Fast. I'm not going to say anything more as he's going to present himself. Tom, we're all ears. Good luck.
Thank you very much. And let me go to my screen share here. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Okay, so this is a presentation introducing the World Heritage Readers, a new series. And first, let me introduce myself. This is a picture of me just a couple of years ago. Actually, I'm based in Japan. I was born in Oregon in the US and have been to many different countries. Like I said, I've been in Japan for the last 20 years or so, teaching junior high, high school, and now at the university level to both language learners and students who are considered native. I have a PhD in human sciences with an emphasis, my dissertation was on global citizenship education practices in Japan. I have a master's in Latin American culture studies. And I have written before. I'm a textbook author for National Geographic. And before I went into teaching, I was actually in museum curation. So all of these things combined together have culminated in this interest I have in writing a World Heritage book series. So this is what the plan is. We're going to have World Heritage readers that are standalone ebooks about World Heritage sites. And when I say sites, I'm talking about cultural sites such as the Taj Mahal, or natural sites such as the Grand Canyon, for example. These would be for late beginner to early intermediate high school university students. We have said that decided the word length is going to be between 1,000 to 2,000 words, probably on the longer end of that, probably more around 2,000 words. And we haven't produced any yet, but we'll probably have 5 ready by early 2023. And those will be available as ebooks on X-Reading. So that's the current schedule and basically what we have in mind. Now, why do books about World Heritage? Well, first of all, and this is something I learned with writing for National Geographic, it's very helpful if you pick topics that are timeless. And nothing is more timeless than World Heritage. It's always going to be pertinent. It's always going to be in fashion. So it's always going to be interesting. So that's one thing. These readers will not get old. 2, the language learning benefits you can get. I may ask Rob to talk a little bit about this more later, perhaps. When we're reading nonfiction, there's just so much more vocabulary, academic vocabulary that students have access to. So there's that. Also, there's going to be a variety of grammar patterns that students will have exposure to as well. And then with my particular interest in global education, there's a real potential for global competency development. Now, what do I mean by global competencies? These are traits, skills, and knowledge that learners can build in a variety of ways that make them into a more global citizen. One very well-known framework for global citizenship is the International Baccalaureate IB Learner Profile. And I have that here on the right. So according to the IB, their goal is to build these 10 global competencies in their learners, make them more critical and creative thinkers, make them more curious in their life, make them more open-minded to other cultures, other beliefs, other ideas, of course, make them more knowledgeable, make them reflect on their own culture. By reading about World Heritage, I think we can impart these skills to our students, especially if the teachers are taking direct approaches with this, not just having the students read the books, but actually discussing the books with them can really help them build these global competencies. Just a minute. So I don't know if you could hear that. My daughter was whistling downstairs. I had to tell her to stop. Okay, so the contents of the book. This is the basic idea we have, to have sort of an introduction, provide the backstory for the site, talk about its history, it's really just tell the story of the place, and in also include its global significance. One way of doing that perhaps would be to talk directly about how it meets the UNESCO criteria for a World Heritage Site, although that might be a little difficult to translate into a lower level intermediate book. So we'll have to think about that. We might do it in a more using more everyday English. We are also considering incorporating global themes into the series. So perhaps touching on topics like cultural identity, the role of tourism in the world, climate change, peace studies, etc. And also, we will talk about the site today and what are the preservation issues, if any. And also, I think an interesting part of the book would be personal accounts, either fictional or non-fictional, but try to provide sort of a firsthand account of what being at the site would have been like at its heyday, at its prime time. So those are the basic contents of each book. We're also going to include timelines, maps, photography, a glossary, quizzes, and in particular, I want to focus on activities and projects. I actually, with my National Geographic book, included a lot of projects, and this could be ideas that go into the ebook, or they could be picked up in a teacher's manual as well. But these would be projects like how to do a SWOT analysis of a site in your own area. A SWOT analysis is a SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So go to a site and write down all the good points, all the strong points you see about your site. Then look at the weaknesses. what are the dangers that it has? Or no, that's the weaknesses. What are the areas that it could be improved? Opportunities. What are some other creative things that you can think of that could be done there? And then threats. What are the dangers? So doing projects like that with groups and then coming back and presenting in class, things like that are some ideas that I'll go ahead and put at the back matter of the books. This is somewhat down the road, but we are planning to launch them as ebooks, and then probably within a couple years, look at print format options for the books. They could be as standalone World Heritage books, one per edition, one per site, or they could be compiled into a country guide, for example, the World Heritage sites of Thailand, for example. Or they could be into thematic collections, maybe temples or religious buildings. I'm realizing castles, palaces, memorials. One trend within UNESCO World Heritage right now is labeling areas as historic urban landscapes. Places like Kyoto have a lot of World Heritage sites in one place, so it's now labeled as a historic urban landscape. I believe that Lviv in the Ukraine is also a historic urban landscape. So that would be another possibility. And then in the natural World Heritage sites field right now, there's different themes as well: geoparks and biospheres. So geoparks is kind of what it sounds like, more of a theme park for a natural theme park. Biospheres are more natural and protected. So those are two other possibilities that we could use as compilations. And then, of course, World Heritage in Danger. There is a list of sites around the world that are in danger, and those could be highlighted. Before I go on to hear your feedback, this is one of the main reasons why we're presenting today. We're very early on in the process and have some pretty good ideas, but we'd like to get as much feedback from the field as possible. So I'd really like to hear people's thoughts either here or moving into a breakout room. One last thing I'd like to say is I've had an interest in World Heritage for a long time. Actually, I submitted my original proposal to National Geographic Learning for a textbook in the form of a World Heritage related textbook. So that was probably 10 years ago now. And more recently here in Japan, we've done a World Heritage themed Model United Nations conference that was really successful, and we were able to really deep dive with the students into the issues surrounding World Heritage. There's so much you can learn from this topic. One thing I should have added is the SDG connection. So many of the World Heritage sites are linked to various SDGs. So that's one other possibility we could put in the book. Let me go ahead and stop sharing. And take questions here, or go ahead and move into a breakout room, however the organizers would like to arrange that.
Well, your session is until 8:50, so go ahead and start taking questions here, and then after you can move to your breakout room.
Great. So looks like I've got 4 minutes. Are there any questions?
I think there was a request in the chat from Kimberly. Kimberly, if you want to unmute.
Okay, I'm just going to ask, would you consider translating into Japanese? Because we need more Japanese graded readers. So I'm always like, every time somebody is developing graded readers that I hear about, and I'm like, please.
I would love to do that. That's I've got being based in Japan. There's a lot of people who could do that for me. So yes, that would be definitely something we could do.
Yeah, I like the idea you had of discussing, I don't know, was describing what the place would have been like when it was being actively used, not just a heritage site. I guess some of them are being actively used. That's a really clever idea, I think.
Yeah, and that's an important point. I mean, some of these sites are still actively used. They're still in use. But yes, I'd like to use as much as possible actual accounts from visitors, but we can also go fictional if we need to on that. Maybe in the last couple minutes here, I'd like to ask people questions. Is there anything that you would like to see in a World Heritage Reader? I'll just leave it at that.
Hi, Tom.
Yes.
Oh, earlier you mentioned connections with SDGs for that.
Mm-hmm.
If each book could kind of make it clear which ones it was most directly linked with,
Sure.
it might be helpful for students that are working on a project or something like that.
Yeah, I don't have I do have an SDG map right in front of me here. Yeah, so, SDG 11, sustainable communities, that would definitely be one that we could deal with. Of course, climate action, quality education. I think you could probably even find one and link it to gender equality,